Hi there, this is Christopher with Honest Home Inspection, and today we're talking about exterior water management and why it's important for you. So a lot of people don't have gutters on their homes, or if they have gutters, they end with a downspout that discharges right at their foundation. So why is this a problem? Well, water can gather in the soil at the base of your home and seep down next to your foundation and come inside. When it does that, it can do several different things, up to and including movement of your foundation. So when the water soaks down, kind of like pouring water into a sponge on one end and it comes out the other side and it saturates the whole thing, that's what's happening in the soil next to your home. And water has weight, it has pressure. So when it saturates the soil, it can push on your foundation and it can squeeze through the actual foundation material into your home. So water management is typically done through installing gutter systems on your home, adding downspout extensions that extend to probably 6 feet or better away from the home. The grade is the slope or pitch or angle of the ground coming into your house. It should slope away from your house and allow water to drain away effectively. And then we can work into some below grade drainage items such as drain tile or a French drain. All right, I'm here in another room in my basement, which we affectionately call the dog shower. Behind me you can see an old-fashioned concrete shower in the basement. Obviously we don't use this. This room will actually become a hydroponic farm for us later. We'll be growing some fruits and veggies and we'll show those in a video, and I think that might be kind of fun for a home project for everybody to follow along with. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you what's behind me here. This is some more spalling and damage in this foundation. There is kind of a poor grade area outside, and gutters were added on this side of the house to help mitigate this issue. This foundation is dry, but it's got some damage that pre-exists. So we'll also be repairing this section in a later video and showing how we do it. But I'm going to flip the camera around here and just give you a pan of the wall so you can see what a spalling or crumbling wall kind of looks like. All right, as you can see, the outer smooth coat portion where the forms were originally placed is kind of crumbled away. We've got this kind of spalled area. The concrete's still there, it's still solid, but the surface is kind of turned to sand and fallen away over time. Panning down, you can get down towards the bottom of the wall where it's gotten worse, where some of the aggregate is actually exposed. And this is this white stuff here. See if I can zoom in on it. That is the efflorescence I mentioned earlier. So the efflorescence, as I said, is a mineral salt that forms when water passes through concrete. It's an indication that moisture has been present. It's not innately harmful to anything. It does have some silica content, so you don't want to brush it into the air. A good vacuum can take care of it. You can scrub it off the wall. If you're going to remove it prior to painting or something along those lines, I would say scrape it out with a putty knife just to knock the loose bits off, but don't flail around with a broom because it is quite fine. It's powder fine. Moving on, I'm going to take you outside and kind of show you some grade issues. We're going to talk gutters and drainage outside. Christopher here again with Honest Home Inspection, and we are back outside in the area where I was showing you my gutter cleaning and downspout in the last video. There's something here that I want to address because I'm fully expecting it to come up in the comments later, and that is I do not have a downspout extension at the base of my gutter, just one of those plastic trays, which I'll show you here in a moment. The reason for this is that it's in a walkway, so having a long extension is one of those things where people would trip on, and we actually have a plan to put a French drain in place. We're going to do part of the French drain installation later in other videos. Right now the ground is still frozen. We've got about 6 inches that we can dig and then we hit frost. So I'm going to flip the camera around here so you guys can see what I've got going and talk to you about where it's going to go. And then we'll show you some areas where grading is important as we continue on through the video. So here we are, downspout extension, or lack thereof. We've got a little plastic tray. You've probably seen these at stores, maybe you have them on your house. Just an elbow. Oh, hey, we got a pup. That's Molly coming to help. Molly, can you wave goodbye? Hello. There we go. So she likes to help in our videos. Inspector dog. So at any rate, we've got this little tray, and you know, it helps. We've actually got a fairly good grade here going away. What we're going to do is we're going to dig a trench through here, and it'll extend out into the yard, and it'll actually bring the water over to the pine trees and let it go over there, well away from the house and yard. So we're going to dig a trench. Usually they get lined with plastic, and then you fill it with gravel, and you can put your sod right back on top, and that way it can absorb all of the water that's in areas where if water pools and it doesn't drain, you end up with a soggy spot in your yard. That's a good spot where you can put a French drain in. Anywhere where there's downspouts that come into a captured area where there's nowhere for it to go but down, so that water comes into your basement. Those are also great areas to have a French drain installed. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you a couple areas where these could be helpful. Alright, so this is our rather undeveloped north side of our house. The gap in the fence over there is actually due to a tree falling from the neighbor's house last year. We'll probably replace that in a video later on too. So back to grade, you can see that it's quite flat here, and actually there are some areas where it actually slopes back towards the house. As we get over into the sunny section, the prior owners here actually stored quite a bit of compost material, which will actually be quite helpful for our garden later. But this is all compost. It's rich black dirt and pine needles that have all composted from yard waste over the years. So it's actually quite lovely soil. We're going to spread that out in our garden and make use of that. But right now it's creating a little hill that's making it slope back in towards the house. And as you can see, it's very flat. There's areas where water could roll back to the house. Now, we don't actually have a problem with water on this side of our house, but the grade is not really spectacular. So this could be an area where if gutters were not installed, you could do what's called a swale, where the soil would actually slope away from the house and it would meet the grade coming in from the other side and create kind of a trench in the middle. And that's a great spot where you could have your French drain that will lead either front or back. You can do a drain tile. Drain tile is a plastic, like 4-inch corrugated pipe that is perforated. It's got holes in it, and only on one side. So you bury that in the trench and put gravel on top of it. And that is actually a very good way to move water long distances below ground. It's fairly inexpensive. It's about, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks for 100 feet of it. And it's quite easy to put in. You just literally lay it in the hole and bury it with gravel and then put sod back on top of it. So I'm going to continue this on in other videos. Alright, we're here at Theresa's childhood home. Theresa, you want to walk into the woods here and show me yourself? Get a wave. Alright, she's walking up, pardon the truck noise, she's walking up what we call a swale. A swale is, I believe I talked a little bit earlier about that, and we'll have a nice graphic I can show you as well. She's got the hillside coming in. Behind her, it comes in towards the side of the house. But as you reach the side of the house, the ground is actually sloping back towards Theresa, creating a channel or a pathway where the water can flow downhill out into the yard. This is very effective. It keeps the water well away from the home, keeps the foundation and the basement dry. And you can see there's kind of a cutout in the hill here from when they built the house many years ago. And panning back this way, you can see where the hill comes in towards the house, but you can see that there's still a definite slope coming away. That allows the grade to drain quite effectively. And coming here on the back side of the property, I happen to know that there is a drain tile system on this side of the home. There's a lot of gravel in on top of it, so even though it looks like there's a hillside running right up to the back of the house, you would assume that there would be a water issue. This one has great drainage. There's I don't know, a couple, maybe like 1.5 feet or more of gravel and drain tile down there. So again, where the water comes in down the hill towards the foundation there, there's a trench with gravel and a drain tile, which is again that perforated tube. It's about 4 inches in diameter. It drains out into the yard further down.
So if you look back at the house from here, you can see the main body of the house is that original box there. And when I was about 12 years old, we added on this portion of the house. So I have a lot of very distinctive memories about building this up. I recall putting the tar lining in along the foundation there and attaching some sort of sheeting, which my father probably could fill in for me later. But I remember a lot of labor doing that to make sure that the base of the addition was good and steady. We poured a concrete slab, so this is a workshop area
Back
here.
down.
And like Christopher said, he helped take care of reinforcing our drainage here. My parents have a really nice water management system on this house. You can see up at the roof. See the roof line? You can see the gutters coming down, discharging to this next section of gutters along the roof line. These come down and discharge out the bottom. There's also a melting cable inside there.
Yeah,
to make sure. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, so this home has ice dams that it occasionally gets. This addition portion has a vaulted ceiling, which vaulted ceilings are kind of notorious for getting ice dams. Happens in every home just because there's not always enough room to get insulation up there. This one is fairly well insulated, but for whatever reason, the south face does get them. And they've used ice melting cables to great effect. I'll probably get a little bit of footage of that just to show you what ice melting cables look like. And the tail of it, they run through the gutters and down the downspouts. As I said, right over to here, you can just see a little tail of it sticking out, and that allows for a channel to melt through any ice that's in the gutter, and the melting cables melt any ice dams that are on the roof, and all that water that is on the roof trying to drain away can drain during the wintertime instead of building up and potentially getting into your home.
The other feature that's really nice here is underneath the upper deck here, they put in some sheeting here to help the water drain outwards so that my mom can have a little potting shed. Right now it's all tucked up for the winter, so it's a little bit chaotic. So it's nice to be home visiting the folks from a great distance, but at least we can come out, check on them, and show you a bit of the house that I grew up in. We built every last bit of this together as a family, and it was an amazing project.
Thanks for the tour.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wait for a truck to go by. It's apparently the day of trucks. Still waiting. All right, trucks are passed.